The Exile. Captain Maya Chen stood alone in the vast circular chamber of the Galactic Conclave. Through the transparent dome above, three gas giants hung in the black void, physical reminders of how far she was from home. Around her, representatives of 23 spacefaring civilizations sat in rising tiers, their bodies ranging from vaguely humanoid to utterly alien forms suspended in specialized environmental chambers. The conclave has reached its decision, announced High Speaker Vorax, a six-limbed being with iridescent skin that rippled with bioluminescent patterns. Humanity has been found in violation of the conclave principles of measured advancement. Maya maintained her composure, though her heart raced. 6 months of arguments, presentations, and diplomatic pleas had led to this moment. Your species advances too rapidly, continued Vorax. You modify sanctioned technologies beyond their intended purposes. You take unacceptable risks with forces you barely comprehend. Your disregard for the established order threatens the stability we have maintained for 12,000 years. We have followed every explicit rule since first contact, Maya countered, her voice steady despite her anger. We have shared our discoveries and traded fairly. A Malorian representative, resembling a massive translucent jellyfish, pulsed with dismissive colors. You were given Class 3 propulsion systems for exploration within your sector. Within decades, you improved them to nearly Class 2 efficiency, a development that should take centuries. That's called innovation, Maya argued. It's how humans survive and thrive. And therein lies the danger, said a reptilian delegate, mandibles clicking. Other young species look to you and question the wisdom of our measured approach. You create instability. Maya looked around the chamber, searching for any sympathetic faces. Even the representatives who had seemed supportive during the hearings now avoided her gaze. The decision is final, Vorax announced. Humanity is hereby restricted to their home solar system. No human vessel may travel beyond the orbit of your outermost planet. We will install sentinel arrays to enforce this edict. You may keep your current technology, but you will receive no further knowledge from the Conclave archives. You have one standard quarter cycle to recall all human ships and citizens. On Earth, 3 days later, Maya delivered the news to the United Earth Council in their Geneva headquarters. The room erupted in outrage. They can't pen us in like animals, shouted the African Union representative. What about our mining operations in the Kuiper Belt? Demanded another. President Aria Takahashi, a woman with steel-gray hair and unwavering eyes, raised her hand for silence. When the room quieted, she turned to Maya. Is there any chance they'll reconsider? Maya shook her head. None. They see us as unruly children playing with dangerous tools. Takahashi nodded slowly, then stood and walked to the main display showing Earth from orbit, a blue jewel against the black. For thousands of years, she said, humans looked up at the stars and dreamed. For the last century, we've been reaching for those stars. The Conclave thinks they have ended our journey. She turned to face the room. But they have not caged us. They have merely challenged us to find our own path. Her words were broadcast to every corner of Earth and to every human outpost in the solar system. As Maya watched the determined faces around her, she realized something important. The Conclave had not crushed humanity's spirit. They had ignited it. Thus began Project Phoenix, humanity's secret response to exile. 5 years passed after the judgment. On the surface, Earth appeared to accept its fate. The official reports sent to Conclave observers showed humans focusing on their home system. But deep beneath the Marianas Trench in a research facility called Deepwell, something extraordinary was happening. Dr. Raj Patel wiped sweat from his brow as he studied the quantum field generator on his workbench. Around him, a team of the world's brightest physicists and engineers worked in focused silence. Try it again, he told his team. Increase coherence by 7%. The device hummed, and then projected a sphere of shimmering energy that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. It was derived from technology they had obtained from traders before the banishment, but modified in ways the Conclave would never approve. "It's stabilizing," shouted his assistant. "Quantum signature is holding steady." Raj smiled. This was the breakthrough they needed. After years of reverse engineering alien tech and combining it with human theoretical physics, they were developing something entirely new, a drive system that could mask a ship's presence from conventional detection. Meanwhile, in a stealth observatory hidden within Neptune's rings, Commander Diane Wu monitored the Conclave's Sentinel platforms through specialized sensors. Her ship, the Shadowfish, was officially registered as an ice mining vessel, but its true purpose was mapping weaknesses in the blockade. "There it is again," said her navigator, pointing to a data stream. "Every 67 minutes, that section of the network has a 4.2-second processing delay." Wu nodded and marked it on her chart. "That's the 7th blind spot we've identified. Not much time, but maybe enough." Wu's team had been testing the limits of the blockade for years, never crossing the line, never giving the Conclave reason to punish Earth. They simply observed and learned. In another part of the solar system, on an asteroid converted into a shipyard, the first vessel designed to break the blockade was nearing completion. The Pathfinder was small and sleek, incorporating the quantum technologies developed by Raj's team and designed to slip through the blind spots mapped by Wu's reconnaissance. 6 months later, humanity was ready for its first test. The Pathfinder, under the command of Captain Maya Chen, now promoted to Admiral, prepared to attempt what no human ship had done in years: break the blockade. "Approaching Neptune's orbit," reported the pilot. "Quantum field engage." Everyone watching from mission control on Titan held their breath. If the Conclave detected them crossing the forbidden line, they might punish all of humanity. The ship passed Neptune, then ventured further. No alarm sounded. No Sentinel platform turned to track them. The quantum drive was working, rendering them effectively invisible to Conclave sensors. 3 days later, the Pathfinder returned to Neptune's orbit, having traveled 10 light-years beyond the solar system and back. As Maya stepped off the ship onto the Titan base, she was met by President Takahashi and the Phoenix leadership. "It worked," she said simply. Takahashi nodded. "Then it's time for the next phase. Operation Exodus begins now." The Exodus fleet was built in secret over the next 2 years. 3 massive colony ships designed to carry 15,000 people each to a star system careful scouting had identified as perfect for human habitation. The system lay in a region the Conclave considered uninhabitable due to radiation levels that affected most Conclave species, but would be tolerable for humans with modest protective measures. On the day of departure, Maya stood on the bridge of the flagship Horizon, watching the final preparations. Dr. Raj Patel joined her, now heading the scientific division of the Exodus. "Nervous?" he asked. Maya smiled. "Terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. If we succeed, we'll establish humanity's foothold beyond their cage. If we fail..." She left the sentence unfinished. They both knew the stakes. The 3 ships slipped past the blockade using the quantum drive technology, disappearing into the vastness of space. Their destination: a star system humans had named Prometheus, 40 light-years from Earth. There, humanity would plant the seeds of what would one day grow into an empire of their own making. 2 months later, the fleet arrived at Prometheus. Initial scans confirmed what their probes had reported: a system with 2 habitable planets, rich in resources, and free from any signs of indigenous intelligent life. As the first shuttles descended to the surface of what they named New Terra, Maya felt a profound sense of history in the making. The planet's sky was a deeper purple than Earth's, its gravity slightly stronger, its air sweeter with unfamiliar scents. "It's beautiful," said Raj as he stepped onto the alien soil beside her. Around them, colonists began the work of building humanity's first outpost beyond the Conclave's reach. It was just the beginning. Over the next decades, more ships would slip through the blockade, bringing more colonists to Prometheus and to other star systems identified as suitable for human settlement. The banishment had begun. But so had humanity's greatest adventure, the return. 50 years after the exile, New Terra had transformed from a tentative outpost into a thriving world of 7 million humans. It was the center of what had become known as the Phoenix Federation. 12 colony worlds spread across 20 star systems, all hidden from the Galactic Conclave. Admiral Sophia Chen, granddaughter of Maya Chen, stood on the observation deck of the Phoenix Federation's flagship, Ascendant. Below her, the shipyards of New Terra stretched for kilometers, constructing vessels that incorporated technologies the Conclave had either banned or never developed. "Admiral, the Council is assembled," announced her aide. Sophia nodded and made her way to the conference room, where the leaders of the Federation had gathered. At the head of the table sat President Marcus Rivera, grandson of one of the original colonists. "Our intelligence network has confirmed it," Rivera began without preamble. "The Conclave is facing a crisis they cannot solve." The holographic display activated, showing a spreading phenomenon at the edge of Conclave space, a purple-hued disruption that seemed to devour light itself. "They're calling it the Void," explained Dr. Leila Patel, head of Federation Science Division, and daughter of Raj Patel. "It's a quantum anomaly that's expanding at an accelerating rate. It destroys conventional matter and disables Conclave technology. 3 of their worlds have already been evacuated, and they have no way to stop it," asked Counselor Zhao of the Centauri colonies. "None," confirmed Lila. "Their understanding of quantum physics is too rigid, too bound by traditions of measured advancement. They'd spent 12,000 years refining existing technologies, but have stifled true innovation." "Meanwhile," added Sophia, "our quantum integration theory could potentially neutralize the anomaly. Our ships, using modified versions of the technology we've developed free from Conclave restrictions, could approach the Void where their vessels fail." President Rivera looked around the table. "Which brings us to the decision before us. Do we reveal ourselves and offer help, knowing it could lead to renewed conflict with the Conclave? Or do we remain hidden and let them face this crisis alone?" The debate was intense. Some argued that the Conclave deserved their fate after forcing humanity into exile. Others pointed out that innocent lives, trillions across hundreds of worlds, were at stake. "My grandmother always believed that what makes humans special isn't just our capacity for innovation," Sophia said finally. "It's our capacity for compassion, even toward those who've wronged us." In the end, the vote was unanimous. Humanity would reveal itself and offer assistance. 3 days later, a fleet of 100 Federation ships, led by the Ascendant, dropped out of quantum space near the Conclave capital system, the first human presence there in half a century. Their arrival set off immediate alarms throughout Conclave space. "We're being hailed by the Conclave Defense Force," reported the communications officer. "They're ordering us to withdraw immediately or be fired upon." "Open a channel to the high speaker," Sophia commanded. The view screen flickered, and the image of High Speaker Zulat appeared, a methane-breathing entity whose 6 eyes widened in shock at the sight of a human. "This is Admiral Sophia Chen of the Phoenix Federation. We come in peace and with an offer of assistance regarding the quantum anomaly you call the Void." "Impossible," Zulat gurgled through its translator. "Humans are confined to their solar system. This incursion violates." "With respect, High Speaker," Sophia interrupted, "we haven't been confined to our solar system for 50 years. We've established 12 colony worlds and developed technologies that may save your civilization from the Void. We request an emergency session of the Conclave." 6 hours later, Sophia stood in the same chamber where her grandmother had heard humanity's sentence of exile 50 years earlier. President Rivera stood beside her, facing a conclave in disarray. "You have violated our most sacred edict," began High Speaker Zulat. "Your presence beyond your solar system is forbidden. Yet here we stand," Rivera replied calmly. "We come not as supplicants, but as equals offering assistance in a time of crisis." "We do not need help from rule breakers," hissed a Thaxian representative. Dr. Leila Patel stepped forward. The void has consumed 3 of your worlds and will consume 10 more within a standard year. Our analysis indicates it will reach this system in approximately 5 years. Your attempts to contain it have failed because your understanding of quantum mechanics is incomplete. She activated a holographic display showing the complex equations the Federation had developed. This is quantum integration theory. It explains why the void forms and how it can be neutralized. The scientific representatives among the conclave studied the equations with obvious astonishment. This cannot be, whispered one being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix. These principles violate the traditional models. Traditional, but incorrect. Lila replied. Nature doesn't care about your traditions. The universe operates according to these principles whether you acknowledge them or not. Even if what you say is true, Zulat said, why would you help us after we exiled your kind? President Rivera smiled. Because that's what humans do. We explore, we innovate, and when necessary, we forgive. Over the next 3 days, Federation scientists presented overwhelming evidence of their theories and demonstrated technology that the Conclave had deemed impossible. Ships that could manipulate quantum states, medical techniques that could cure diseases the Conclave had accepted as untreatable, energy systems that operated at efficiencies the Conclave had never achieved. You have accomplished all this in merely 50 years, asked a Malorian elder, incredulous. We've had to, Sophia explained. Without access to your established technologies, we had to innovate or perish. The very restriction you placed upon us forced us to think differently, to question assumptions, to leap where you would carefully step. On the 4th day, a decision was reached. The Conclave would accept the Federation's help with the void. In return, humanity would be formally recognized as a sovereign power with the right to its existing colonies and continued expansion. But there must be oversight, insisted Zulat. Your advancement is still dangerous. We'll accept observers, Rivera agreed, but not controllers. We'll share knowledge, but we won't be restricted. The days of humanity living in a cage are over. As the conclave session ended, Sophia found herself approached by a very old Malorian, one she recognized from historical records as having been present during her grandmother's trial. I voted for your exile, the Malorian admitted, its color shifting to indicate regret. I believe your species would destroy itself without our guidance. Many humans thought the same, Sophia replied. But we found another way. The question now, pulsed the Malorian, is whether our species can learn from yours before it's too late. 1 month later, Federation and Conclave ships worked side by side at the edge of the void. Using technology developed by Layla's team, they established quantum resonance fields that began to slow, then halt, and finally reverse the anomaly's expansion. On the Ascendance Bridge, Sophia watched the operation with satisfaction. A hologram of her grandmother Maya, now 120 years old and living in retirement on New Terra, stood beside her. I wish you could see this in person, grandmother, Sophia said. Maya smiled. I see it through your eyes, child. We did not just build colonies or develop new technologies. We built a civilization that remembered its humanity even in exile. As the void began to recede, Sophia reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this moment. Exiled from the stars, they had forged their own path among them. Denied a place in the galactic community, they had built one worthy of respect. The banishment had ended, and humanity's place among the stars was secure at last, not as junior members of the Conclave, but as equals who had proven their worth through innovation, determination, and ultimately, compassion. In the vastness of space, a new era was beginning. The stars that had once seemed forbidden now beckoned with endless possibility.